Okay, it really seems like the Ripple XRP versus SEC case is about to come to an end. I mean, some talks have been going around that literally that's what's happening right now. And if we take a look over on Twitter, that's also what we will find. That's basically been ongoing over the last hour or so. So as you can see, the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit nears an end with settlement talks. The ongoing legal battle between Ripple and the US SEC appears to be nearing a resolution. According to various reports, the case involves negotiations around a $125 million fine and potential restrictions on future XRP sales. Ripple's legal team is seeking more favorable terms, indicating the end of this significant loss in the crypto sector might be on the horizon. Well, we have actually stated for a while that the Ripple case most likely is coming to an end very soon. Now, this $125 million fine was actually a result that was already achieved somewhere, I believe in 2023, July, or was it 2024? Things are starting to warp around. I believe 2023 was XRP not being a security, and then 2024, actually just now, we had ourselves the $125 million fine part. But again, the last couple of years have been going by so fast, sometimes it's easy to forget. Regardless, when exactly that happened doesn't matter, because basically what happened is the SEC at that point did not agree with the result, and they wanted to basically go another round, is what I'm going to call it here. So they basically disputed the results that the judge came up with. They basically said, hey, let's do this all over. And that's actually, when we talk about the end of the lawsuit, what we're talking about. The reopening of the case, the redo and the restructuring of whatever the fine or the repercussions would or could or should be. The reason we've stated that it's most likely about to be over relatively soon had to do with the fact that the SEC closed down Coinbase, whatever, all those different crypto companies, I believe like 10 of them or so, over the past month. And since they closed down, like, let's say 10 other cases, it would make sense if they can't substantiate, if they can't properly reason for those anymore, that they could also not properly reason for the XRP Ripple case anymore. Because, well, it's not that special of a thing. Mostly it came down to Ripple's side stating, well, we didn't know what was and what was not allowed. We kind of followed the rule book. We wanted rules. We just abided by the book. We registered everywhere. What did we do wrong? And then the SEC just gave a big middle finger. But right now, it seems they're taking a step back. But let's just take a look at this. So the scoop. Two well-placed sources tell me that the SEC versus Ripple case is in the process of wrapping up and could be over very soon. My understanding is that the delay in reaching an agreement is due to Ripple's legal team negotiating more favorable terms regarding the August District Court ruling. So it was indeed, was it August 13th? Which imposed a $125 million fine on the company and included a permanent injunction preventing the company from selling XRP to institutional investors. The argument, I'm told, is that if the SEC or the new SEC leadership is wiping the enforcement slate clean for all previously targeted crypto firms because it believes regulatory clarity will resolve the underlying issue, why should Ripple still have to pay? And that's indeed a good point. You know, if Coinbase and all these other guys are walking off scotch-free, why would these guys still have to pay $125 million? Now, even though it's a slap on the wrist for them, on the opposite side, it's still $125 million, right? Still quite a lot. Accepting the Torres ruling, who was again the judge, as it stands would mean that Ripple is essentially agreeing to admit to wrongdoing. Because again, if they pay, if they say, hey, this is what we're fine with, ultimately it comes down to them agreeing that this is what happened, right? That they were doing something wrong. But now the SEC itself is seemingly unsure whether any wrongdoing really occurred. So whether or not this fine is then appropriate and whether or not that admission then, sort of, for which the fine was the result, would be proper. It's a very interesting point that's now being brought up. There's no real playbook for this kind of thing, which could explain why this case is taking longer to resolve than the rest. Stay tuned. And indeed, I'm guessing partially because of all the cases that have been, wiped clean recently, the reason this one did not go through just quite yet probably is indeed because the resolution was already gotten to or made, right? The $125 million was already concluded, and I'm guessing from there on out, it was basically a matter of, hey, do we just want to throw away $125 million from the SEC side, or do we just, continue this on, or what do we do? I guess it's a bit more difficult than being in earlier stages like with the others. Perhaps not all of them, but I'm just saying I understand. Some cases might take longer than others. I kept saying most likely this case is coming to an end very soon, most likely in a quite favorable way for Ripple XRP. But he says I have a theory, this is Meta Lawman, about the SEC's unexplained delay in dismissing the Ripple case. It might not be the SEC. It could be that Ripple is negotiating hard to get the SEC to agree to vacate some or all of Judge Torres's decision, meaning maybe the SEC doesn't even want to go again for the whole lawsuit. They just accepted this and were ready to drop it. But Ripple's like, you know what? We actually want more. The Torres decision was unquestionably great for XRP holders, but the finding of security law violations and the injunction with attendant bad boy provisions are not so great for Ripple. This is particularly true if Ripple is considering a future exempt securities offering or IPO. I believe the SEC would have accepted a settlement where both sides dismiss their appeals and the SEC takes the $125 million penalty in a heartbeat. So again, most likely, in this case here, if the SEC said, hey, we don't want to appeal anymore, and the Ripple took away their counter appeal, all that's left is just the SEC getting $125 million, and that's about it. I mean, at this point with the current climate, I think that's indeed something they should be taking. So from now on, it doesn't make sense if it is Ripple's side who's doing the beating, Ripple's side who's not budging. It's all pure speculation, though, and it could be wrong, but it does make some sense. Note, it is far from a sure thing that a federal judge would agree to vacate a prior ruling as part of a settlement. This was fairly commonplace several years ago when I started in the law business, but judges started balking at this in more recent times. But then the way I'm thinking about this now is perhaps this is not as deep as he's making it out to be, purely because if, again, a new commission came on in and they do not agree with the previous commission's guidelines or rules because there were none, then still by that logic, I think even a federal judge could perhaps agree to vacate a prior ruling because, again, if your rule book that you were judging something on was not complete and now it's been at least added to by a few pages and, again, the book has been changed completely, then I do understand why perhaps they might be thrown out. If we're going to be talking about price, XRP is up roughly 5% today. Nothing too crazy, back at $2.22, so nothing too fancy. Also, again, based on this news, the price is not really pumped. Perhaps, actually, though, it could be that the news came out really around... It could be that the price pumped a little bit based on this news, but I'm guessing not too much because mostly it's just a rumor stating, hey, most likely the SEC is ending it soon. It's not a confirmation of sorts. It's just a matter of most likely this is going to be happening. If we're talking about ETF news, you can't fully see it, but there's basically more and more ETFs being filed. I keep now thinking also, a few months back, an ETF would have been crazy. Right now, it's just standard. It's just more and more of the same thing. And also with these rumors of the lawsuit, for example, all we need is for this lawsuit to end. All we need is for a new crazy partnership to be announced. All we need is for another adoption wave to either come up or be announced. These rumors don't really do so much for me anymore, right? And I think a lot of people agree with that, to which I state, most likely, good things are very much on the horizon. And you can see from the views here just how excited people are to hear about this, to think about this. But man, very, very interesting situation. So the SEC most likely just wants to drop it, but Ripple just wants to get clean of everything, huh? But I do believe they'll probably get it done because if everything changed up from the SEC side, then yeah, they don't really have that many legs to stand on. Could be juicy. Oh, could be interesting if Ripple doesn't even have to pay the fine if the SEC just wipes everything, huh? That would be the ultimate win. And it could be happening perhaps extremely soon, way sooner than many people anticipated. I still expect it to be happening in weeks, just based on the SEC's timeline from recently. Maybe it would have happened weeks ago if Ripple was not so stubborn, but I guess it's for a good reason. And most likely, I still think something beautiful will come out of it, but I'm ready for whatever that will bring to us. But yeah, that's about it for this little crypto update. Just wanted to say this is the scoop. It's got about 500,000 views in the last hour, though, so I definitely had to be covered. Interesting, and that's about it.